So it's not every day we have an interaction like this in Smart Talk. I'm extremely privileged to be interviewing educationist, social reformer, spiritual guide, and yogi Shri M.
Thank
A very, very warm welcome to our show and a good morning to you, sir.
Thank you very much and good morning to you too.
Good morning. So I happened to read this book of yours many months ago,
Okay.
and it sort of blew my thoughts off. I mean, very intriguing, the things that you spoke about in the book.
Okay.
Okay. So in this interaction with us, which is very brief, and we totally feel very privileged to have you here.
Thank you very much again.
Right, because it's going to be a very tight schedule for you in Chennai.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
So my
true.
first question to you is this. These are a couple of questions that a normal person driving on the road, who is not very attuned to spirituality, may want to ask.
Right.
So
right.
all these questions come to you from that sense.
Okay.
Right? With a lot of humility.
Sure. Sure.
How do you think one can figure out the purpose of our life?
Oh, this may be something a normal person driving on the road will ask you, but it's a profound question. How do you say that again?
How, for example, that it's in my mind. How do I find out the purpose of my life?
Purpose of your life, right? Now, if you ask a normal person, what's the purpose of your life? You know what the answer would be. I want to enjoy. I want to be happy. I want to have no misery at all in this life. Unfortunately, life happens to have both sides. There is night and there is day. There is pain and there is pleasure. So, there is a beautiful way of living through this life and yet attaining your purpose, which is happiness. Anybody who wants to have a profession, want to be an actor, why? They think, oh, I'll be very happy with that. Or I want to be a professor, why? Because I'll be very happy with that. Or if you look at the common factor, it is happiness. And as less pain as possible. More pleasure and less pain. But since the reality of life mixes both together, ancient yogis and great teachers, not only in India but also in the West, have figured out a way of how to deal with this and carry on with life and then be in the middle of this battle and yet be able to fulfill your purpose. So you'll ask me, so then what would be a purpose? This is a very individual affair. Everybody won't have the same purpose. One man may be or one person may be very happy with a particular way of life and that is the purpose. Another may be with something else and that is their purpose. But what we are trying to say is how to fulfill it. Because I can't define a purpose of a person except that the common factor is seeking happiness.
Okay. Right.
So from there we carry on.
Okay.
So suppose I have identified my purpose. It is a thing to be looked at carefully and identified. Because I know plenty of people who thought this is the purpose of my life. Halfway through they no, this is not the purpose of my life. It is something else. There are worldly people who think this is the purpose of my life. Most people are worldly. And then halfway through they say no. Could there be something different? So you should take plenty of time. This is also for youngsters, I'm saying. Give a lot of time before you decide what the purpose of your life is going to be. It should be enjoyable to you.
Okay.
If it is not enjoyable to you, however great it is, it's not going to work.
That's important.
Very important. I decide that I want to become a philosopher. Now, if you really, it doesn't give you happiness, just because Swami Vivekananda is worshipped by everybody, I also want to become, you have to think carefully, can I do that? Or can I do something else? A great scientist, a great engineer, everything is in my vision, my view, they also kind of fall on the same footing. Einstein, you would say he's a scientist, but he discovered the purpose of his life very young and he decided to stick to it. That takes me to the next point. Once you have decided, you have to stick to it, no matter what problems come.
Okay.
This is very important.
This is something which many of us don't have, the patience to pursue it, right?
So, if you have decided, then I'm sure that you will have some difficulties on the way. And all people who have fulfilled their purpose in life, what they call purpose, look at history, are all people who have had innumerable failures, but who were not discouraged and who stayed on and won. Thomas Alva Edison failed 100 times before he produced the electric bulb. Today we are all sitting here happily. We don't know how difficult it was for him. So when people asked him, is this inspiration? He said, he smiled apparently and said, yeah, 1% inspiration. They said, then what is the 99%? He said, perspiration. So this is very important to note.
Right, right. So that brings me on to the next question. If, according to you, there's one value that youngsters today should develop,
right,
what would that be, sir?
The one, it's difficult to pinpoint one value, but one of the important values that youngsters should develop. They're too distracted. I find them, many of them are very distracted. So they should develop the value of one being how to fix your attention one pointedly on something which you take very seriously.
Okay.
And two, that be sincere in what you're saying, what you're doing, what you're thinking. Because very often we end up projecting ourselves as one kind of person, and actually we are not, and you get discovered very fast. Because the other guy is also intelligent, you must remember. So don't pretend. Be yourself. Be yourself. I know this because people come to me, young people come to me, because I talk a lot with schools and colleges. And come to me, oh, we want to meditate. We are very serious spiritual aspirants. I said, you look tired today. Monday. Yesterday was Sunday, right? Yes. So how many beers did you have yesterday night? So how did you know? I said, nothing. I just found out that you look very tired. You are a normal young man. You must have gone and had a beer. I mean, it's very clear. Why didn't you say that to me? Be sincere and open. Don't hide. This is a very important thing. We like to pretend. We like to imitate a star or a big person somewhere. There is no need to imitate. You be as you are really, and you'll see how your value increases.
Okay.
As long as you don't have criminal desires to kill someone. That is a different matter. We're not talking about that, of course.
Right.
Talk about the young people who are in various professions, who are students, and so on. So one thing is they should be sincere, admit failures, admit mistakes. If you don't admit mistake, not you, how am I going to correct it? What happens? I try to project to somebody that I'm perfect. I don't commit mistakes. And after some time, I begin to believe in it. That is where the problem comes. Convincing a person, okay, maybe he won't find out. If I start believing in it, then I'm stuck. I can't move. I can't open up. So I think, since you asked me the question, what would be one? I think one is not to pretend, to be yourself. And then standing where you are, having seen yourself there, you don't have to tell others, yourself. See now, how do I move out of this? How do I clear this? How do I become better?
Okay.
So what does it look to you like? That sincerity is important.
Right.
One-pointedness is important. And the purpose of life has to be decided after a great deal of thinking. Not suddenly jump into it.
Okay. All right. And if somebody is tuned in right now, as a first step towards meditation, even in my yesterday's show I was mentioning, it's so difficult to really remove the thoughts from our mind and even quietly sit in a place. It seems impossible to me sometimes. The mind is so crowded. The more I try to remove thoughts, the more crowded it gets.
Absolutely.
So, how do we do that? And if there's like a simple practice we can start with, there are so many stages to meditation. How can somebody start?
See, first let me tell you the reason why the mind is distracted. Because the mind has still not begun to enjoy it. Suppose I love music. Suppose.
Okay.
Music is also great meditation, believe me. So, suppose I love music and I'm listening to beautiful music which I love. Is there any distraction? Is the mind distracted? Is it moving away? Are there any other thoughts? No. Why? Because I love it. I am interested in it. So the first thing to develop is deep interest in meditation. Why should I meditate? Not because somebody said, or because my mother said, oh, it's good for you to meditate. No. why are people meditating? And when you see people who are in deep meditation, why is the smile of joy on their faces? Why? So there is something enjoyable in there. Can I find it? If this is the process, the thought process that is initiated, there is a chance that from the beginning the number of thoughts that disturb and distract will become less.
Okay, I've never thought about it that way.
Like if I love painting, suppose I do, I paint. I'm not a professional, but I do paint. When you paint, where is the distraction? You're fully caught in it. If a young man says, when I sit down to meditate, I am disturbed, because he really doesn't know that there is a great joy in meditation. Why he is meditating, this has to be found out. The same gentleman, same young person or lady or gentleman who is on the street and is looking at the girl or boy that he loves, where is the distraction? You don't even know what they're doing. They're looking at each other. Nobody can define what's happening. Why? In Hindi they say kuch kuch hota hai, kya hota hai, nobody knows. So why? Because the mind, emotion. So the first important, that's why in many ancient spiritual disciplines there is a space for music, kirtan, bhajan, great stories from the Bhagavad. See these, mostly when people say meditate, they think all imagination should be put away. There should be some imagination in play, positive. And when your mind gets fully attracted to it, then there is no distraction. Otherwise, the tussle is between I want to meditate and my mind says, no, I am meditating on something else outside. You get what I am trying to say?
Right,
I hope.
right. It is. I understand what you're saying.
So, that's where music, japa, kirtan, bhajan, all these beautiful stories from the Bhagavad and so on, they come into play. So when you are in it, one day you stop and look at yourself. There is no distraction, everything is clear, quiet. And then you start meditating.
Okay.
So, see, the background is very important. Right. Don't do it as like a forced thing or like a daily activity.
And I mean, sir, I wanted to ask you this. All great people, when we talk about our country, they talk about Himalayas and meditation. What is it about the Himalayas and meditation? Why is it that people want to go there and they think, it's a little easily achieved?
May I counter this with one question that I would ask you?
Sure.
Have you been to the Himalayas?
I haven't.
You should.
Okay.
Because it will be proved to you why people go to the Himalayas. Even if it's like a picnic, it's okay.
Okay.
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
This is my personal experience. So I can tell you that the Himalayas are a special place. I don't know whether it is the geographical location. I'm not sure about these matters. But I know for a fact, even if I had not found my Guru, Maheshwarnath Babaji in the Himalayas, I would still say that the Himalayas are a beautiful thing. That's where you go and you enjoy. I'll give you an example. You're trudging on to Kedarnath, for instance. Okay, you go on and go on and go on. Nothing is seen. There's some forests and rivers and forests are everywhere. It's nothing very peculiar. Of course, as you go up, you get tired, and then there is less oxygen. You want to breathe harder. All that is true. And then suddenly you turn a corner, and then you look on the right, and you come across this huge mass of ice. It's a mountain, but it's completely covered with ice. For a second, your heart misses the beat. You don't have. Something happens which I cannot explain. It's beautiful, and I think this is one of the reasons why the Himalayas are so attractive. Apart from the fact that in ancient mythology, which we have been taught from childhood, there have been mention of great sages coming from the Himalayas. Bhagirath brought the Ganga from Bhagirathi from the story is that he brought it from heavens, and it was so strong that Bhagirathi said, I can't hit the earth because I will pierce it and go to the other side. So Shiva, where does Shiva sit? In Kailash, in the Himalayas. That's also Himalayas. It has gone to China now, unfortunately, but and he said, okay, I know what to do. Collect it on my head, in my matted hair, and trickle it out slowly so that it doesn't penetrate there. So See, there's a lot of atmosphere which has been built into our system from ancient times. That's one attraction. Second is actual being there is a great experience which I think any young person should go there and figure out what is it that attracts you. Innumerable Westerners come to the Himalayas. I know camps where only the Jews come from Israel. They settle down. I asked a couple of them when I was, well, now also I go every year to them. We could have another retreat next year in Badrinath. I asked them, what's it that interests? They said, we're not particularly religious, but there's something here which we love, we enjoy. It touches your heart.
There's something about it.
There's something about it. And if you're spiritually inclined, it really is conducive to sitting quietly. When I started meditation, Babaji did not ask me to do anything. He said, sit here in Arundhati cave at the top of the hill. The Ganga is flowing. Just open your eyes. Don't close your eyes. Watch the water move. You see suddenly that your mind is moving along with the water after some time. And then everything becomes still. And then you try it back home and it doesn't work. So there's something out there.
Right. So I have this one last question to you. According to the like we've been taught from our childhood that there is a destiny that shapes our life. And then as you grow, you realize there are choices you make.
Absolutely.
Right? So I feel as an individual there's so much of a conflict in my mind between, is this my destiny or have I made this choice for myself? This is an eternal question.
True.
What is it?
I have a take on this. I think these are two words describing the same thing.
Okay.
Destiny, and when you say, what did you say?
Choices.
Choice. I think there are two words we use for something which we are not able to understand.